Hmm, hmm. Dolby Atmos is garbage trash. Yes, it is rubbish. It is rubbish. Mighty pile of rubbish. It is a gimmick. It is fad. It's fake 3D. Yeah, I'll still keep ranting this. Like those two projectionists I was just listening to their conversation years ago, back in the 90s. This was at the ABC downtown, and I occasionally pop in to have a chit chat with these with one of the guys. That was he was like say very courteous. He'd get a cup of coffee and that. And we're just talk, we're just chit chat. Anything like film or just projector or whatever. Um, and then this other guy comes into the projection room. This was the upstairs projection room for number one screen, and I was just sat down. I just didn't really get involved with the conversation. I was just overhearing what they were saying about Dolby stereo optical soundtrack being fake. Being like say it's a gimmick. It's not real four channel or four track. It's not like 35 millimeter, very rare 35 millimeter four track magnetic, which is very rare. That format don't know how many films have got that. Anyway, and they just wanted a 70 millimeter print to be shown, but no, they didn't. They weren't going to be sent a 70 mil print. So they just get a 35 mil and think, it's not the best way to exhibit a really good showmanship presentation. And so yeah, Dolby Atmos it is. I've put up with it for 12 years listening to that rubbish. And it's not a 3D sound format. It is not a 3D immersive sound format. If it immersive. You know, that's so laughable. It doesn't immerse me, no more than, um well, hang on, immerse me, think about it, so when the overhead surrounds are hardly in use and where typical speakers are located for the surrounds, you always will notice, like, it seems like something's above me." But that's the side and back surrounds, just creating that illusion. So when you hear something that's kind of overhead, or is it? Because there'll be so much other sound playing, and you get this, oh gosh, you get a masking effect, and it's usually very, very difficult. You've got to have the system really dialed in, frequency and level balance, and level balances are very dodgy on some of these mixes where I've seen the overhead surrounds are got a very low level in the output sometimes, and the front channels are pretty loudish or pretty high in level, uh, versus the side and back surrounds. Yeah, sometimes I just got to go into and the movie I refer to is that stupid, rubbish, overrated movie called Mad Max, Road Rage, or whatever the bloody movie was called. Absolute dreadful sound mix. In the balance, in the mix balance, how it's delivered for the home. And I got to readjust the levels just so it could be, play back. But that was months ago. That's in the past now. I don't really care to play that movie that load of rubbish movie anymore, Mad Max, and it's not even Mad Max anymore. It's got female. It's like become a Mary Sue, Mary Sue. You know what I mean? Ray, Mary, Daisy, Sue running around with a dildo lightsaber in front of all the males, and the males are just running behind. Like very weak in their energy and all that bullshit. Oh dear. Oh, and now this you get more Mary Sue movies. Oh dear. Uh, yeah. So what happened to poor old what's his name? What's that actor's name that does the Venom voice? Not Tom Hardy. That's it. I'm Venom. I'm hungry. um, I'm Mad Max. Yeah, yeah. Load of rubbish. Um, I can't stand those Mad Max ones. They're a load of garbage trash. The color on it looks absolutely atrocious. Yeah, you look at the originals, and they got better color back. They got better natural light color. But today they're all woke. The color is woke. It's it's not stylistic for cinematography or what. It's just dreadful. It's like, oh, and the whole damn thing looks, oh, so CGI. Oh, you want to see all that CGI garbage trash up on the Limax projection screen? Oh, well, you lot can, but count me out. I won't be seen dead near an IMAX cinema today. Oh, oh. In fact, I won't be seen dead near any more cinemas. I've had enough of them. They're a load of rubbish. Every time I go there, it's uneventful. Mm, yeah. Cinema won't last. It's its demise is certain. It'll only be around for another few years because everyone wants to watch at home. They don't watch on the stupid iPhones. No one really cares about cinema much anymore. And interesting to think. I wonder what theaters, how they're doing. Do many people go to theaters? Are theaters slowly on the endangered list of going down and then closing, and then buildings are totally derelict? Um, hmm. hmm. The only blame for this is technology and the way that technology has been going around, and technology is really killing off the cinema. Hmm. I'll tell you, I've had a very weird dream in the last few hours. It's very interesting how a dream gets manifested. I've not had any cheese, um, but you can have dairy products. Dairy products usually are a link to manifesting dreams, and in this dream was George Lucas. It was on some dubbing stage, not even Skywalker sound, nothing like that. It had, I think, Mel Gibson in the dream as well, but not not too much of him. Had some very snobby re-recording or supervising mixer girl or sound editor. She was a girl, and she was very snobby. And there were a few other mixers or editors and that, and they were also very snobby. And I was in this dub stage, and I was packing up my gear with my 2433 channel audio mixer, and then taking a bag out and out this door and down some stairs, and just taking my gear down. And there was this girl that said she wanted to have the door closed, and I know she was saying, "If you want to come back, get back in to get the rest of the your gear, buzz the phone thing." But I knew she wasn't going to let me in because I knew she was one of these snobs, like rich class snobs, and she despised me or something, as well as I despised her because she's a snob. Um, yeah, and I put this cord, this cable between the door so it wouldn't close properly. So I could still come back up and then go through and then, and after I've finished, then yeah, I'll pull the cord out and then leave it and then walk out and then go home, go my way. But that was the dream. That was it. Yeah, very weird. And it is such detail. It's got such amazing detail. And I'm trying to pin the source of the what manifests. I've had two codfish tonight. Yes, last night. I had two codfishes with broccoli, and that was it. Um, what did I have during the rest of the day? I think I had a bit of yogurt, but that was yesterday. No, no, not yesterday, the day before. I've not had any cheese. I haven't got any cheese in the fridge. Um, I can only pin it, maybe there was butter or something, in the batter of the codfish. Um, yeah, it's very difficult to sort of like, you know, um, hmm. Anyway, that was the dream. It's amazing. The, the sound and the clarity of the image. How does that get? I don't know. Mind boggles. Hmm. But George Lucas being in it as well, he was not very nice person. He was not a very nice person in the dream. He was very horrible. Very, very, very beyond snob. He was very not nice person. Hmm. And then they had these THX leaflets in it as well. There was these THX little leaflet things that they had, and I asked if I could have one. And one of these mixing people were very not a very nice person. He said, "No, you can't have it." I thought, "Oh, that's not nice." And then he said jokingly, "Oh, okay, have it." But they had lots of them. They had lots of them on top of this mixing, their large mixing console. Very weird dream. But George Lucas, he wasn't very nice. I wonder if he's really like that. I mean, he's not very nice to his ex-wife. I mean, he kind of sees it his way, like she doesn't exist. Well, that is cold. I mean, what the bloody hell she done? Bad. That. I mean, that is cold. Anyway, that was the dream. Enough of George Lucas, the man that brought you American Graffiti now brings you an adventure unlike anything you've seen before. Star Wars, Milking Wars, Cow Wars. Moo! Oh dear. Hmm. You see, here is a bed. This is the bed layer, right? And if I were to take, or anyone to take an object, like that, that's an object. And then you get objects that only do this in Atmos. They only go up there and they come down to ear level and then they go back up to there. That's all they do. It is fake. And yet I only have to hold that there and then drop it. It's going to bounce on the floor when I release it. So it bounced a couple of times, and yet I hear the sound angle at a below angle. It's amazing. And I'm laying down in this position. It's amazing. Our mind and the way we can hear. But if a microphone was picking that up and I play it back on headphones, the sound is going to be going direct this way. It won't give me any illusion of, oh, it's above or below. Yeah, no, it's just be coming straight. I'll just pick that up wherever it is. Oh yeah, it's over there. Yeah, but it makes a sound. And that's where Dolby Labs are full of shit. They're full of crap, and they cook up their version of overhead sound, plus a little different with the side back wall surrounds. Whereas it's called Panna Through. Um, Now Dolby Labs, like only want to get on it because Oro came around with the first discrete version, but they're not the first to come up with speakers being on the bloody ceiling. That is old news. That speakers on the ceiling or fitted in the ceiling go back as far as 1969, 1989. It is old fucking news. At least to me it is, but to most of you lot out there that are too young to even understand, you anyway. I got videos posted of I got pictures, that I come across that um, show the original overhead speakers in the Odeon screen number one downtown, the Cinerama screen. As well as UCI Tower Park. Mm. Yeah, and when you think of this sort of thing has been on mixers' minds, is through the 1990s, they were thinking about adding or putting some overhead sound for SDDS. By just doing it in a matrix way. That's a little bit of an article that's in a PDF file. Can't remember where it is now. It's very hard to find that sort of, so you use keywords, SDDS, overhead sound, something during the 1990s. Because though some cinemas have had it for quite a while, though they don't publicize it, like Atmos publicized today for the masses of sheep, and particularly all the gullibles that like buying all those rubbish 4K discs every day of the week. Um, yeah, they're just near field mixes. Um, mm, it's still got bass and all that, blah blah. But I wonder how they compare to the actual theatrical. It's like they don't want us to have the theatrical, though it wasn't much of an issue with Laserdisc. The transfers just get transferred, and you get though most people were using small speakers back around then, with maybe very rare some people buying proper cinema speakers. Um, because when you play a theatrical mix on a smaller speaker, it doesn't sound right. Um, just just doesn't deliver the dynamics. And yet, when you play a near field mix on a cinema speaker, it doesn't sound right. It's like the same film, the same version, and it's like there's something missing here. There's something. What have they done? Because they're tweaking it, manipulating it. Don't know why they just don't leave it alone. Um, I don't really care much now. Um, I'm gradually getting more wary and bored of bored of film mixes, because we change every few 7 years. We change. I'm just getting more bored and bored and bored of it. What? Just so to talk about something that's in in this so-called what community, where most people are really hard of hearing listening to this atmos rubbish. God, they can't hear it, can they? God, yeah, yeah. Mm, mm, mm. Oh, 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 oh. Mm. Can't even knock that over, Madge. Mm, 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 mm. See, he's putting his paws on me. That is exactly how the THX at the CIC High Wycombe was. Felt like when that THX trailer played, the Broadway or the Wings, I think it was. Um, and then after that, arachnophobia. It felt like a cat being on my chest, pressing its paws and walking around. It felt like that. Very, 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 very unique. So you don't need this Trinov bass wave, because I doubt that Trinov bass wave would do anything like that, with its stupid algorithm or whatever they want to call it. You got to spend $40,000 just to get it. because it's not available on Storm Audio or anything else at present until, yeah, it's just like Aura 3D make their version of, discrete. And then Dolby Labs want to get on the bandwagon because they think they're going to miss out, and they'll 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 be just stuck with their 7.1. Um, and then after that, DDS, oh, they want to get on the bandwagon. And yet the funny thing is they're all doing the same bullshit. They're copycatting the same overhead sound. They're doing the speaker placement and layout. That's bullshit. It's total bullshit. Like, it's got to be this DES layout. It's got to be this Auro layout. It's total bullshit. Speakers on the ceiling is speakers on the bloody ceiling. Either any way you bloody, it's this. The more things change, the more they remain the same. God, and take a pause and think. How come they don't make DTSX speakers or Auro speakers? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't label that on the side of a box now, do they? With marketing. Oh, except Dolby Labs and their bullshit elevated bullshit crappy toy speaker. Oh crikey, I'd like to take a hammer to that and smash that speaker up. All those SVS and whatever else crappy oh dear. You look at the design of that speaker, it looks like a cheap white van speaker. Oh, with a crappy crossover on it. It got a bizarre filter that, well, you can actually go into that speaker and just put a different passive crossover on it, or just take any ordinary speaker, yeah, and just angle it. It's bullshit. And then they label on the box Dolby Atmos speaker. Oh, God's sakes. That is a load of snake oil. Oh, and you look at the stupid prices they sell them at. I could buy myself proper professional JBL speakers that are used for the surround speakers for far less. And I can stick a bundle in my room than one of those stupid, like $700 elevated speaker crap, or if it's a speaker that sticks on the ceiling that's got a wedged angle on it. I could get JBL professional ones a lot cheaper, and I can fit a cluster in the room. Yeah. The most people do with their overheads is like all this stupid. I don't know why it's like at the minimum two speakers on the ceiling. Two, it just doesn't work. That two speakers and make and set them out in an array. So there's like one, two, three, four, one, two, three, four, like four down that way, four down that way on the ceiling, but they're only playing a two-channel signal. But you'll get better immersive sound or a better uniform frequency coverage. Oh yeah. See, that little tip came from me for free. You think Dolby Labs will come up and tell you that? Of course they won't. They want, or a manufacturer? No, of course they won't. They want you to spend more money on a bloody another processor that's got four speaker outputs for the overhead. Oh dear. And all you have to do is just do the thinking and thinking, how do I get that a little bit more uniform, that coverage? Easy. You just use the mind and think. You just you just do it without necessarily going onto a forum like AVS, crappy forum. AVS is a oh it's a vermin site, mostly full of snobs on that bloody AVS. Oh, Yeah. 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 You got to use your free mind, and then you just do it, and then you report your finding. But if you started to tell other people, right, they'll get a little bit confused because their mind is not free. Free your mind, Neo. Their minds are a little bit wrapped up with all the bullshit. Oh dear. Yeah, talk about sheep, electronic sheep, no myth. It's all true. Oh dear. Yeah, and then did you do it with 6 speakers? I mean, I could add a bit more into overhead, but the when you play Dolby DSU, if I got 5.1, or if it's even if it's a 424 matrix mix, and you put that through, you turn off all the other speakers except for the overheads, and it stays relatively uniform, but the signal that is being heard overhead is only coming from the front, just like Dolby Stereo. The signal is, it's matrixed into, and so you get a little degree of crosstalk and such. Depends on the panning, the vector steering, the polarity of the signal of the original surround signal, and the panning of it. Um, but but DSU, I just noticed that it's it's got a degree of distracting crosstalk. Um, Plus, um, it's doing it in a kind of stereo way, but not individual speakers, only side to side. So you get stereo going down one set of speakers and then one other set of speakers. Sometimes it in the DSU, I think it deactivates um, the middle overheads, and it just leaves the front ones on and the back ones on. And I think it's different with DTSX. I think it switches them all on, but DTS have got their own different kind of matrix decoder connected within the processor, so you hear a difference in the sound. So because it's going through a different matrix process um, to eliminate or filter, minimize crosstalks in the sound. But Aura 3D, oh god, terrible. Plus, it's got a weird echo delay on it. Every time you stop the disc, put it on pause, it's got a slight delay of an echo effect. Very distracting. That's probably why it's a load of rubbish. But if I use my experimental overhead surround, that signal is literally coming from the surround output. It's not coming through the other way. So I've got a little switcher box, a little data DB25 wiring on it. So it's just designed for the switcher box is really designed for I think for printers or computer printers. So it outputs the signal to Yeah. Um, I thought that was a pretty cheap box, that was, because I could do some complicated wiring for my overheads, experimental, pretty complicated wiring. Um, so all I need is one signal, two signals from the side surrounds, and it goes into the box. And then all I have to do is switch it, and then bam, I can use that along with the side and back surrounds, the usual ones, the usual. And it sounds like it would sound like the Odeon screen number two down at Bournemouth that no longer exists. The cinema is still there. It was gutted in 1989, but if the walking around it downstairs, there'll still be where, oh yeah, that's where one when where that there, that little square piece of wood there covering over that speaker in up in that ceiling there. There were six overheads in the auditorium. There was about one, two, three, four, four speakers each side wall and four on the back wall, as far as I can recall. Um, and it sound well to me. It just literally covered. It was pretty good. Um, and yet, screen one upstairs that just used simply the overhead speakers from 1969 for Cinerama, but that Cinerama got phased out around 1970. Mm. And of course, there's UCI Tower Park, where that just used speakers on the ceiling, attached to the ceiling, and the same spacing configuration to what Atmos speaker layouts are. The same spacing. You can't fake that bullshit, you know. Oh dear. Yeah, you got to know your overhead surround history. Yeah, it's pretty genius whoever thought up the idea back in the late 60s to put speakers on the ceiling or within the ceiling, because typically they're just located on the side and back walls for a mono surround for because they weren't doing split stereo surround until Superman the movie came around. Uh, um, yeah, just get better sound uniform coverage when the speakers are a little bit high up and they're made up in an array. If a speaker breaks, then a speaker you'll be able to pinpoint it because it's faulty and it will stick out. Just like one of the speakers at UCI in one of the smaller auditoriums, because we projectionists, we were like, I think there was three of us in projection, and the movie playing at the time was Tango and Cash, and you got the opening. Okay, let's do it. Boom, 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 boom. You get this bass. One of the other projection team had the bright idea of turning the fader from about 6 point, because the fader setting was around about 6 point something, um, and then just turned it literally up to 10. And it was only about a week or so later that I was going around the auditoriums listening to another movie, and then noticed one of the overheads were knackered. Um, there were, in the smaller screens, there were seven overhead speakers. One at the very far back, where it's narrow and the floor goes a little bit higher up. Therefore, the floor to ceiling height is a little bit narrower. And then as it slopes down and then opens out wider into the auditorium, there's one, two, three, and then one, two, three speakers like there. And it was, I think it was the one that was slightly nearer towards the left, so it would be up there, not this one there, not that one there. It was that one over there, and it was completely knackered. It was making a rattling noise, um, possibly the bass driver, because it wouldn't be the mid range or the tweeter doing that. So it'd be the bass cone that probably got overexerted, and now it's making some rattling noise. Probably the dust cap, or maybe the cone got broken and it's making a rattling noise. Oh dear. So that'd be a pain in the arse to fix because you got to set up scaffolding just to get up there. Uh, that's the thing with we get a speaker gets broken, you got to set up scaffolding. Mm. So the speakers have got to be designed very carefully because bass can leak into the surrounds. I could play the film on my Dolby CP200, proper Dolby stereo, um, and monitor the sound going through the surround speakers and see how much bass content there is leaking in. Because usually there's a filter on the Dolby matrix that filters or rolls off the bass around about 100 hertz, and then there's another filter around 7 kilohertz. There's a modified noise reduction chip on there as well to reduce any, I guess, maybe hiss noise or such. Um, but signals always sometimes tend to get through. It's not like design a better filter or crossover to prevent the the speakers being damaged, or better still, have an audio limiter. And then if the signals go too high, then the limiter cuts in, and that signal can't go any higher, and it won't do any damage to the speakers, much less the amplifier. Because yeah, yeah, simple things. Those simple things you don't get designed into a typical AVR. You got an audio dynamic range control that you can still turn the volume up, and you can still damage speakers if you're not very experienced. But yeah, an audio limiter will prevent that from happening. Um, Storm Audio, the Trenor, the JBL, and mm, maybe the odd other so-called luxury high-end processor might have an audio limiter built in. Um, mm, mm, yeah, I think it's time that Dolby Atmos fades out and gets put on the rubbish heap. I mean, it's terrible for music. I mean, Pink Floyd, The Dark Moon Side, or whatever it is, load of rubbish, utter rubbish. I've only played the disc once. I thought, oh my goodness gracious, sounds absolutely atrociously appalling. It didn't even bring me into the immersiveness on it. It was, oh, it was terrible. Give it some discreet below surround so the imagination of certain pannings of when music, you play a rhythm like, and it sort of moves along in a stereo 2 channel, and you hear this rhythm, and then you could take some of that rhythm and then flow it and move it around, so it's going there, and then flow it suddenly down below, and then coming around, and then coming up behind you, and then overhead, and then, well, yeah. it's down to individuals and creatively. Music is such a picky sort of thing. You know, if we were to listen to an actual orchestra, nothing electronic, no Jean Michel Jarre, none of that rubbish. Not I'm saying he's rubbish, but listen to an actual real orchestra with real musical instruments. And do we hear any of that? Whatever is going on, do we hear that? I don't think so. If it was outdoors, there's less reflections. If it's indoors, there's reflections. But then might as well have one of those Yamaha DSP things to create a hall effect, a cathedral or a cinema auditorium. Um, mm, 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 mm. Basically, the microphones pick up the sound, don't they? If outdoors, depending on where it is located, outdoors, providing there's no buildings nearby or anything, and for it to make an echo, because microphones are they're not really clever, but they are clever enough to pick up little things like, oh dear, I was listening to that guy's home theater with his stupid what do you call them, 33-inch sub bass speakers, and his room is absolutely appalling sounding when he's doing the frequency sweep of that direct live whoop whoop whoop, and I can hear that when it gets goes through the middle range and highs, I can hear all the reflections in the room. It's absolutely terrible. And when it's just room EQ treatment, it's not going to treat that. You know, it's once he's got all the la di da, try to get the best frequency response, whatever, from his teeny little clip speakers. Um, there will still be an annoying pinging echo reflection. If it's any sound coming from the front speakers and it's supposed to be, you listen to that on headphones, you won't hear an echo on it. You take those headphones off and you listen into the room. Oh, crikey. You just hear this annoying pinging echo reflecting off the walls when the sound should be coming more direct and precise. But obviously, the guy doesn't want to treat his room. Let him have an echo chamber. Um, because when you got a room that's totally dead, they mix echo, reverberate in sound onto a film mix to create an illusion. Because if it echoes, it's going to amplify some of that sound a little bit louder, and it can be a little bit fatiguing, a little bit annoying, especially when it's pinging off of two walls. And if it might be a bleep 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 sound effect, it's just going to make a pinging noise. Oh, same as when I had home cinema in this room, and I'm playing. The speakers were all up front. The speakers and the TV and all that were all up there, and I had speakers on the ceiling and down the sidewalls and all that. But when I was listening to that Independence Day where the airplane's flying through the Grand Canyon, and then the fuel gauge warning is bleeping and it's going beep 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 beep. I was hearing this annoying sound pinging off the walls over down this side, though there was no treatment in the room, and it was just reflecting this annoying noise that if I absorb it, yeah, then the sound will just literally be directly in front of me. It won't be pinging. You got to treat the whole bloody room, the ceiling, the walls, carpet on the floor. HF horns are very good at directivity. They have been for many decades. You don't need all this too much of this bullshit today. God's sakes, they're selling it at like at stupid price rates, like it's luxury, you need it. Oh gosh. Yeah, so were the speakers made years ago, but they didn't advertise them like luxury. Oh God's sakes. Because it's some bullshit manipulating, brainwashing, marketing scam to delude rich people into thinking, oh wow, I've got to have it, it's luxury. Yeah, they've never heard of eBay. You can go and get the real thing cheaper, secondhand. There's no shame in buying something that's secondhand. Oh, what are you meowing? Oh, my bear's meowing. What are you meowing at? Yeah. Mm. I don't know. Oh dear, Atmos boring. I mean, Atmos is when you listen to some crappy movie like called Nobody on 4K. Nobody it is. It's called Nobody. It's like listening to wet, bloody paint dripping off the fucking ceiling. How many times is the overhead surround used in that movie? And when they do, there's a guy near the end of the movie, you get the sound of the illusion of someone's falling down some stairs or over a balcony, and you hear the voice like, "Ah!" for a brief moment, but it sounds so plastic like. It doesn't have any soul or consciousness to the bloody sound mix. It sounds so gimmicky, and oh, it's absolutely bloody awful. It's got no psychoacoustic realism to it. It's terrible. I'm thinking of getting that disc, getting the pair of scissors and cutting it up and throwing it in the bin because I don't even play that movie anymore. It's a total waste of time. And it's called Nobody. Load of rubbish. Just some stupid movie with a load of guns, just for weirdos that like guns, like firearms and think, "Oh, wow, listen to the bass on that." Oh, dear. Bloody sad. Um, what's the other movie that's a load of rubbish? Oh, God. Oh, dear. Um, Moonfall? Yeah, Moonfall. Yeah. I think I mentioned that before, where there's a little sound of a bird tweeting, and it's an interior inside a house, and you hear this bird tweeting. I think it's up on the front right overhead, and it doesn't make sense because I'm thinking, what the bloody hell is a bird doing inside the house? Or maybe it flew in through the door and perched itself somewhere on a high up on a light or something on the ceiling or whatever, and it's tweeting. But no, 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 it's very poor sound supervising and mixing, and because the bird would be on the outside and you wouldn't really hear it overhead because the scene takes place downstairs. And I think there's a door that's open, but you wouldn't hear that the bird sounds outside. You'd hear reflections more or less, but not overhead. No, we don't hear it like that. I'm sorry. The sound would be kind of mono-ish and very diffused until you walk through the door and step outside. Then the perspective of the sound field changes because of the inside. It's more claustrophobic because of all the wall ceiling boundaries. And when you step outside, there's unlimited ceiling height, but you still got boundary surfaces around in the horizontal plane area. But you notice the difference. And oh dear, it was a terrible fucking movie. Besides, it was a terrible movie, terrible color and terrible Dolby and Atmos mixing. Um, you see, their mixers, they can't even get the sound of a bird to sound realistic. Tweeting outdoors, they can't even get it right. They can't even get it right. When you listen to it, it's like a sound of a bird that's recorded up close and then sound edited and manipulated a little bit, filtered. But you got to listen and take note with what you're looking at in a scene, and know that in reality there will be still a degree of reflections going on. There was a bird that was tweeting down the road one time, tweeting, and I couldn't exactly pinpoint it because of where it was placed, where it was positioned, and the tweeting was reflecting around, which caused a slight confusion to where its actual position was. But I kept looking and I kept looking, and then I saw it moving, and that's what gave it away. And I thought, ah, there he is, because the sound is not pinpoint like in bullshit Atmos. It spreads out, sort of thing, so you get reflections. And when you get reflections, it makes it a little bit difficult to pinpoint. And that's some of the things that they just don't put in all this crappy Atmos. Oh, it's so plastic like. Oh dear. It's like some bad fucking McDonald's plastic fucking meal at a takeaway. Oh dear, it's fucking soulless. That's why I don't like Dolby Atmos, because it is a gimmick. It's a gimmick. It's a bloody piece of fad rubbish. 12 years of it. 12 bloody years of that rubbish. How it's managed to stick around that long, I don't know. DESX, they're not doing very well because they want to do Limax with Disney. Oh yeah, we know Disney are going down the toilet, so why support it? Let it fail. And I guarantee, I promise you, DESX will be the next one to go kaput. And that'll just leave Dolby Labs until someone else out there is just about had enough and has got the money and could front it and put something, approach someone with a better idea and put Dolby Labs out of commission. Because I've just had about enough of Dolby Labs. Their Atmos is flawed, technically flawed, but they just don't want to have it modified with a discrete below surround now, do they? You'd have thought within 12, less than 12 years of that time, they were Mark II version, but no, still the same load of rubbish. And everyone keep talking about it. I'm talking about it. I'm roasting it. I've had enough of it. I've had enough of its bullshit. Everyone else keep talking about it like it's like bloody brand new, like it only came out yesterday. It's been around for 12 bloody years, for Christ. It's getting on almost 13 years. Yeah, oh dear. I think that people waste the investment in it. I've wasted investment in it. And you and all the rest of you wasted investment in it. We expect those overheads to be utilized from The moment you play the disc from start to end, and there's only one movie that's done that, and that's Gravity, where it utilizes it and utilizes all the playback on those overheads and heights and everything. It utilizes it from start to end. And all the other rubbish DC crappy movies, oh crikey, they barely use it. Or some stupid Tom Cruise Maverick. Phew, waste of time that is. Load of rubbish. Like he's in an aircraft hangar, isn't he, with that stupid airplane that he's cleaning up. You don't hear any height sound or reflection, any sort of psychoacoustic sense of sound. Oh dear, that movie won a best sound for Oscar. Oh, it's atrocious. Yeah, there's another movie that was fixed and bullshitted at the yeah voting. Bear doesn't usually make a meow like that unless it's for some sort of reason. What are you meowing like that for, Bear? What's up? What's up? What's up? You fed up? You fed up with me? You're ranting about Atmos. I know. I share the same sentiment. But Atmos, it's vexing me. It vexes me. It's okay, Bear. I'm not going to play much Atmos in this home cinema much anymore now because Atmos, as far as I'm concerned here now, Bear, it's on the endangered list for playing. There's plenty of good other movies that are Dolby Stereo and such, and or maybe DDS on Laserdisc that don't need this bullshit Atmos. Hey, what's that on your eye? What's that on your eye? Hold on, hold still. Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, is that better? Is that better? Yeah, you get all these little sleepy things on your eye, and you can't clean it off now, can you? Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I think most people should get a pet cat instead of playing around with your Atmos. There's this guy on YouTube that's always like, oh dear, oh, I think he's only got four overhead speakers. Um, like I say, you can you gotta use your mind and thinking and thinking. I wonder if there's any Easter eggs sound in within the because if you get some overheads, they're mixed like they sound like stereo, and they're not just these stupid objects floating around. Though, really, you should have a total uniform of a sound moving around, like atmospheric sound, and yeah, if it was a bird naturally flying and with psychoacoustics, and you can hear it moving, and it sounds like it's recorded. You know, um, oh dear, really, this is what we this is what we've become. We listen to artificial fabricated bullshit atmos, but you step outside and listen to the real world, and or you would hear more natural sound within less than 1 minute of listening to some crappy atmos. It's not an opinion, it is based on fact. If you don't like it, then keep listening to your crappy atmos. I know the world that we are the world that is presented to us today is not very nice. It's very dim, very, very blue most of the time. Um, and then so we want to go into a fantasy, but I could have some cheese and dream atmos or immersiveness, and you know what? It's got to be far better than the actual Dolby Labs crap. Oh, oh. You can have a little. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, you can have a tiny little speaker in your hand, the palm of your hand, and play some pink noise on it, and then just move it around, and you just hear it. Like that's it. That's how you're hearing it, and you're hearing it whooshing and moving around like an object. Well, that's an object, and it's moving around, and then you put a little bit more to it. This is like a laboratory, so you got other sort of like just trying to think to doing it with actual pink noise. Balance the level. So pink noise would be literally playing overhead, side, wall, back, floor, everywhere. And then just have another speaker that's playing pink noise and then just moving it around and seeing if I could detect the shifting of me. Because, well, I know where I'm moving my hands. It'd be better to be blindfold and then someone moving it around. And so if I can detect it and adjusting also the volume level as well, and also moving it away, and then the test could be done again with pink noise playing everywhere, and then the speaker playing just a sine wave tone. Um, if it's low frequency, might be a little bit difficult to pinpoint with a little speaker like this. Depends on the sine wave tone. If it's high frequency, I might pick it at pinpoint it, moving around. Little things like that to test. Crikey, I don't have to go. You don't have to go to a university laboratory and all that bullshit. Crikey, just free your mind, Neo. And hmm, when you turn this on, it makes a chicka chicka I can feel it in my palm of my hand. Feel that bass, and turn it off, and deliver, and turn it off. Shakaka. Yeah, I can play that, move it around, or just get a piece of sweet wrapper or tin foil, a little bit of tin foil, and just rustle it and then move it around. Yeah. Mm. That's the gas boiler. Turns on for a couple of sec. Probably taking off a few pence on the gas. You pay for the gas, and yeah, it should stay topped up. Oh no, no, no! Little pieces come unless I totally shut it off, and so and then monitor the rate on the meter on the smart meter, and monitor the rate of how much it's coming off in pence um, every day or so. Mm, yeah. I really do think it's like they live. You got the special sunglasses. You need these special ones for the ears to put in, and then you be able to hear that atmos is. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Uh, I mean, you could take the regular speakers for the surrounds on Atmos. Take the regular sidewall speaker, put them on the floor, watch the actual visual images and all that. Um, like if an airplane is going to go below you or down at this angle or this angle, because those are, or you see it going dun 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 da da. No, no, no. Like no, that's like this, isn't it? Dun dun da 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 da. Star Destroyer going overhead, or you see it from below. Dun 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 dun. You always see those typical cliche things on the screen, and yet when they try to match sound with it, it doesn't work, especially with Atmos, because there is like well, there's up there, well, there and there, go for the overheads, typical, and then you got the angle over here and here, and the corner down here, which would be usually the side surrounds, down at this angle, and then you got, you know what I mean? You know where I'm going with this? Huh? 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 Yeah. If you don't, then you don't deserve to have a home theater. um, and yet those positions, and then when you get all these sound pannings, like helicopters and whatever other rubbish, I'm noting the sound and I'm thinking, what the blaze? It doesn't even match. The continuity is out of position because Dolby Labs are stupid. They are stupid. They're not watching, they're not listening. They just put this shit in and think, oh, wow, that's going to be great. But the sounds just don't match the continuity on the visual when it's off screen, and they're like helicopters, like in that stupid movie Black Hawk Down. And there's some helicopters that are at a below angle. You hear them coming along the surrounds, and then they appear on screen, but their position, it doesn't match, because I'm listening to the surrounds that are up here on the sidewalls, a bit higher up, and the sound just doesn't match the continuity to the visual image. It's out of place. God, that's because there isn't enough channels for the encoding, for the mixing, the encoding, and then the decoding to deliver it. But what if what if you make the whole walls literally speakers, and then you do the rest of the designing of it, um, which is not too complicated, but it's not cheap. Even if you use Bose speakers, cheap off eBay, or even if you get them off the back end of a lorry, some speaker brand, you get it off the back end of a lorry, no questions asked. You didn't pay a whole lot for it, but you still got to buy amplifiers. Maybe you can get the amplifiers off the back end of the lorry as well. Um, and I know it will sound damn good once it's all been evaluated, checked, the speakers and that, and play the pink noise very low level. because you got a load of speakers doesn't necessarily mean it has to play very loud. You go outdoors and listen to natural atmospheric wind, breeze, or that sound that usually you hear in the background. It's motor cars, traffic. that may be, oh, maybe a mile away, and there's lots of it, and it just travels, and you just hear this kind of sort of sound in the distance, sort of this very, but at nighttime, boom, you don't hear it because the roads have quietened down, and so you don't notice that sound. Um, but you know what I mean. I know what I mean. And then once it's all balanced, and then play these whatever Atmos movies as they are, um, the sound positioning of the helicopters are just going to be completely uniform, but its locational position still wouldn't match when it goes on screen. But there's enough speakers there for it to have individual, because you want sound to move this, diagonal, horizontal, vertical, even do a circle if necessary, or a square, or triangle. You want it to do those positions, but they would only do it's sound that's only still going to be on the walls, the ceiling, the floor. In reality, things could come very near to us, make a sound, but not in this fake bullshit immersive. So it's not immersive. Otherwise, an object that comes near, I'll say, "Oh wow, that's immersive," because it's bloody near to me, and then it moves away from me. Dear. It's impossible to do that unless you have things with servo motors moving around above, like some theme park, and then little speakers dangling around in front of you, and then moving around like it were a fly or a bee buzzing around you. Oh dear. You listen to that crap on headphones, it still doesn't sound you know. Oh dear. I'll just say, just be aware with what you're listening to. Be a little bit more, get a little bit more scientific rather than just being a shill on YouTube and stupid thumbnails going like, Atmos speakers up above me. Those stupid expressions, really. You're affiliated to something and you're taking a little bit of money on the side. Oh, shame on you people. Or maybe you're not affiliated, but then still shame. Like, oh, I'm going to buy that and I'm going to listen to it. And I know, oh my goodness gracious, it was a load of rubbish, like the Abyss, 4K Atmos. That's totally fake, that mix. It's totally fake. If you listen to the theatrical version, like on the DVD, and then compare it to and you listen to the regular surround channels and the fronts. Yeah, you just listen very carefully, and then you go back to the 4K. And you listen you can tell what they've done. I can tell what they've done, and it is cheap. Dear, oh dear, it is such. Oh, it makes Atmos even more of a gimmick. Oh, and plus it's a bloody near field mix. Oh, compare that to the Laserdisc AC3. Oh dear, the special edition would just blow that Atmos disc out the water. Especially on that decompression scene. Boom. Not the implosion. Damn. Oof. But I don't know. We don't know what it would be. Well, it'd be absolute kaput, wouldn't it? Mm. Gonna have to use a bit of super glue on that. These little rubber things are. Got to put a bit of super glue on them. Peeling off a little bit. The little glue adhesive to hold these things down is not very good. A little bit of super glue will fix that. Or I could put a bit of very fine bit of hot glue on it. Yeah, hot glue would probably do it. Cats are creepy. Dolby Atmos, load of rubbish, a load of fad, a load of gimmickry. I've just had enough. I can't stomach it anymore of its bullshit. Apparently, all of you embrace all its bullshit like fake news. Yeah, fake news. Yeah, fake Atmos news. I'm just whistleblowing and on the bullshit. I just can't stand the crap of it anymore. I think, like the Roman Empire, I think it's about time it bloody falls. Because they're not going to make a Mark II version. They're not going to try and put actual discrete belows around. Because then it would start to at least become a little bit more entertaining. Because I fucking heard that speaker fucking thing overhead with Tower Park. Bloody hell, with Tower Park, crikey, it worked. But they, I hear bloody Atmos at Empire Leicester Square, Star Trek into dreadful darkness, and Captain Kirk's voice coming overhead, sat at the front of the auditorium, front row, front and center, and I hear his voice overhead, and I look straight upwards, whilst my peripheral vision is still catching the screen, and I'm thinking, bloody hell, instantly reminded me of Tower Park. Oh, yeah, sure, it's done discreet, but it reminded me of Tower Park because I've had that experience, and sadly, a lot of you out there have not had that experience. You've not probably been to a cinema in the USA that's had speakers on the ceiling many decades ago, but they never publicize it. They want to probably see if any audiences are noticing, or sometimes it's the like say the experience of Born on the 4th of July, when it played in oh gosh, what was it? Screen. I think it was in screen number 5 in Dolby SR, when projecting it. Um, Sometimes you get maybe 3 projection team. You got the chief projectionist, and then you got the deputy, and then you got maybe myself, or it might be another some. It depends on the days. Anyway, um, that sounded pretty good. There was a scene in the movie where it's an outdoor scene. It sounded very kind of psychoacoustically mixed nicely, and you got this helicopter in the distance coming near, and eventually it comes up and then goes off screen, overhead, off screen, but the sound follows it, and I hear it, going on the overhead experimental, and it sounded pretty neat. But a lot of other sounds are usually there, and they're very not pinpointable because they're just blending in with the rest of the sound, and it just creates an atmospheric, uniform sound. Um, um, if I think of some of the other smaller auditoriums, um, the film, the Steven Spielberg movie called Always, when there's an aeroplane scenes in it, where it's the interior of an aeroplane and the engine's on fire because the engines are mounted on above the airplane, and the camera angle is looking upward at the character and through the cockpit window, and you can see the engine on fire, and then the camera changes position where it goes down to pull the extinguisher, and then when it cuts to the other part of the camera angle changes, then you hear this sound overhead. Though technically speaking, because it's on the interior of the plane, there's too much of the bit top end of it because it'll be a little bit muffled because that extinguisher is on the outside of the airplane. But anyway, those things are gimmicks in mixing sometimes. Like you got two people in a motor car, they're driving, the camera's on the outside, and you can hear their dialogue crystal clear through a windshield glass that's about that thick. You got a noisy engine in front, you got the car pushing through, moving through air. You would have all those elements. It would be very noisy on the outside. You wouldn't hear a conversation, believe me, unless the camera's on the inside and it changes from that position to that position to, those typical cliche angles. That I can that I could believe. But when it's on the outside, and I think, bloody hell, I can't stand that bullshit in sound mixing. It really does. It is so bullshit. Um, Very unrealistic. Anyway, so I hear that sound, and um, I could duplicate that. I could duplicate that movie on my system and be wowed. Like, oh, I'm getting a flashback. But if I tried doing it on using the Dolby DSU, I don't think I'll be getting that effect. Um, I've only got Always on DVD, so it's a 4.1 mix. Not played that disc in many years. I might get a collection out. I might do another live video, maybe later in the day. Um, and just go through a small collection and just listen, just with the experiment overhead. And I'll have all the other speakers, the sides and the backs. I'll have them switched off and just listen to the experimental overhead, be it whether they're, because they can play everything. They could do mono matrix, they could do mono discrete, they could do stereo, split surround stereo, whatever. They can do it all. But can a Trinov do that? No. I thought a Trinov can do everything. That's what everyone was led to believe. A Trinov can do everything, but it can't make the cup of coffee. It can't do the washing up. It can't answer the phone. Um, can it do prospector stereo? No. Can it do sensor round? No. Can it do Dolby Stereo 04 format 4? No. It could do DSU. Nah, not interested. Not as if DSU's all bad. Um, it's kind of a little kind of creative in some sense. But It's like you got to have a processor to do all the past audio sound formats. And what we get presented with today is a load of rubbish, a load of garbage trash, because they only want to present us with the future. Well, it's 12 years old, the DSU now, so um, but it can't do all the other formats. And the other thing with when playing 5.1 and using DSU, it does generate some crosstalk in the back surround that's coming from the front channel, and it's in the surround in the back with some crosstalk. Oh, it's bloody annoying. You put a you use an AVR that's got a ProLogic 2X, and that ProLogic 2X only expands the surround channel only. Doesn't do anything, doesn't do any processing with the front unless you're playing a 424 matrix. But if you're playing 5.1, it expands the stereo surround to be a little bit more. Plus, you get better panning sounds that realistically are a little bit more better than Dolby, well, Matrix, EX. um, and in fact, the EX is a 4 channel, whereas the home version is only a 3 channel. Watered down, bullshitting. Um, Magic, get off of there. Get down. Get off of there. You never go up there, Magic. You never go up there. I don't know what you're doing. Go on. Yeah, most people don't know that. Got to get buy yourself a cheaper Dolby SA10. And design your system so it could do all these past formats, and because everything's put onto a microprocessing chip DSP, and it sounds sometimes it's not very good. You can hear it's digitized. You can hear some artifact going on. Whereas you listen to the analog ones, you don't hear these artifacts of with the center channel DSU with a 424 matrix mix. Other people call it 2.0, but it's not really 2.0. It's 424. It's 4 channels encoded into 2 and then decoded back and out into 4. There's a just whooshy sound in the center channel. It's with music because it can't figure out what's going on. And you get this kind of whooshy artifact noise. Yeah, but yeah. Mm, mm. Anyway, I'm wrapping it up now. I'll do another roasting of garbage, trash, atmos, load of rubbish, gimmickry. Maybe another day. Maybe later in the day because I just like roasting it now. So I really don't care for it anymore. And why should you care for it? Or if you want to care for it, wow. Like I think you need to get yourself. I think you lot out there need to get yourself a pet. At least a pet can give you some warmth, compassion, and affection. You ain't going to get any of that from Atmos. You're not going to get any affection or warmth. It's a soulless piece of load of garbage trash. Just like, well, stereo. Stereo's a gimmick. I mean, to depending on how it's engineered and mixed and all set up. Of course, there's always a phantom center in the middle, regardless. Well, you could eliminate it from the mix, and so, but then the left and right will sound very weird. Mm, yeah. Anyway, Atmos a load of rubbish. What do we think, Magic? We don't care for Atmos. On 3. Okay, on 3. 1.